Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at some of the top prospects for the 2024 NBA draft. So these guys right now are going into their college season, starting next season, and we're just going to look at some of the top rated prospects across all of like ESPN 100, 24/7 Sports, stuff like that, and the mock drafts too for clarity on the international players that are coming in next year's draft. So let's jump right into it. So the first prospect we're going to be looking at is the number one ranked on the ESPN 100, Isaiah Collier. Now he's a 6'4" point guard, and he just wrapped up his senior year at Wheeler High School. He's going to play at USC next season. He's a true point guard with great size. He's got a good frame too. He can play with good pace. Mainly we're looking at with him is his instinctual playmaking ability, how he can make his teammates better, how he can put them in better situations. He does seem kind of like a floor general-esque guy, almost like a Chris Paul. He can run the pick and roll too. He's great on the offensive side. He does need to work on his defense a little bit. For a guard being at 6'4", especially in today's NBA, guard defense is very, very important. But he's playing at USC next season, and I'm excited to see what he does. He'll likely go one and done, but again, you can never say that with these types of prospects, especially coming out of high school, because we don't exactly know how they're gonna pan out. Like there have been a lot of top players in these ranking recruits that have come out into the college ball scene and absolutely just flapped it. So it'll be exciting to see how he is. He's not exactly explosive either, so we'll just have to see how well he fares, what kind of mold he moves into as a player and as a point guard, and we'll have to see how it goes. But he's ranked 4th on NBA draft rooms in their mock draft, and he's the number one recruit on 24/7 and ESPN. So the next guy we're going to put on the showcase is Matthias Bussilis. He's one of those big wings, kind of. He can play the guard position too. He's playing at G League Ignite next season. So it'll be good to see what kind of performance he puts on in the G League. He's going to have to sort of fill his frame out a little bit. But, I mean, he's one of those wings we're starting to see a lot more of in the draft, where they can shoot the ball really well, they can also space the floor, and they've got a good handle. Those kind of like guard-esque wings is what we're going to call them. Like a Michael Porter, like a Gordon Hayward kind of guy. He's at number 3 on NBA Draft Room for the 2024 draft. I think he'll be great. I've watched quite a bit of him. Out of everyone on this list, he's probably the one I've seen the most of just on Instagram and Twitter and stuff. So I think he'll be great. It's going to be good to see how he develops, again, what type of sort of mold he adapts to, and if he really will blossom at the G League scene, and if he'll be NBA ready by the time we roll around next year. The next guy we're looking at is Holland from Duncanville High School, who's going to be playing at Texas next year. He's a forward. He's ranked 2nd on ESPN and 4th on 24/7. On the draft room, they have him going number 5, I believe. He's big, he's strong, he's got that kind of Kuminga frame. He can play defense very well, both on the perimeter, inside the paint. He has that very strong sort of defensive presence. He's about 6'8". He plays the 4, I believe, for his school, but he's listed as a 3. So we'll see what kind of role he moves into. He does need to work on his shot a bit. If he can get that shot underneath him, I think he might even go higher than what they have him on the mock draft right now. And if he performs with efficiency too, is another sort of working point for him. He's got the athleticism. He just needs to focus on the shot. He's got the defense too. Just better in that 3 shot, better in the mid-range a little bit, and I think he could, if he does achieve this, he could be one of the best two-way prospects we've seen in a long time coming into this next year's draft. Now, the next guy we're going to be talking about is someone who I feel like has been on the scene for a long time. DJ Wagner, son of Dijon Wagner, former NBA player. He is looking to be a top pick in this next draft. In the mock draft, he's a bit low for what I think he'll actually go. He's hit at 16 on Draft Room. But I think if he does show his strengths, he'll go a lot higher than that come around next year. The only worrying thing with him is, as a scoring shooting guard, is he's quite undersized at 6'2"-ish, but he can score from all three levels. He has a very sort of dynamic way of scoring. He's got the little burst, he can cross over quick, he's got the great handles. He's a very, very sort of perfected guard in a way on the offensive side. He does need to work on the defense a little bit, but with his size, it's like, are we actually going to see that develop? Or are we going to see him sort of like a Trae Young, where he's heavily good on the offensive side, but more of a liability on the defense? We'll have to see now he's going into the college season, what he comes into. He's playing with another top prospect that we're going to talk about next at Kentucky next season. But yeah, we're just going to have to see how his game develops, how it translates, and if he can get that defense underneath him. And if he does, to be honest, the sky's the limit for him. We've seen a lot of more smaller guard defenders coming out really well in recent drafts. So we'll just see kind of where he goes. And I think at Kentucky, he'll be playing with other good players from this class, and he'll have a chance to showcase both his playmaking and offensive skill set as a whole. So the next guy we have here is Justin Edwards, who's going to be playing alongside DJ Wagner at Kentucky next season. He's more of the wing guy that we have seen a lot more of in the draft. He's 6'7", he's athletic, and he has the frame that allows him to get a little bit stronger, which might be able to help him on the defensive side of the ball. He's great on the offensive side. He can shoot off movement, shoot on the catch and shoot. He can get his own shot quite well. He can close out and finish pretty well at the ball. He's good with the ball in his hands, which may kind of cease to be a bit of a problem, especially at the college level, where he might have to take a little bit more off-ball and kind of develop some of his off-ball skills. If he can do that effectively, I don't think he'll have any problems. But again, he's one of those wings who's kind of got a guard skill set where he can move with the combos, he can shake his way to the hoop, and he can kind of like slither in and out across the court. Again, with his defensive side, he's not great at the rim, but that's something that he can develop in the college season, playing against a lot more stronger, more built athletes, and hopefully fill out his own frame a bit more. He's going 6 right now on Draft Room. I think, again, with a lot of these guys, if they do what they're meant to and they excel on the things that they're weak at, these guys, this is looking like a very good draft class. It's looking very deep. So we'll have to see. But next to DJ Wagner at Kentucky, I think he'll be perfectly fine. So next up, we have the first big of this list. We have Aaron Bradshaw, the 7-foot center, who's going to be playing at Kentucky alongside DJ Wagner and Justin Edwards next season. I think out of the three guys, he's going to be one to suffer the most with playing with two 5-star guys, of course. Because of his position, I feel like he'll have the ball in his hands a lot less than the other two guys. But I feel like with his skill set, he'll be able to make enough noise even without the ball in his hand as much to go at least within the lottery. Right now, Draft Room have him going number 2. So let's get into his strengths and weaknesses a little bit. He's athletic and he can move fluidly, which with modern day centers is a must in this NBA. You need to be able to space a little bit and move in and out quick enough. He can shoot the fadeaway and he can shoot the hook shots pretty well on his display in the Nike Wave EYBL. He did that great. He can shoot the free throws as well, really good for a big man. He shot 80% at the NBPA, and 75 in the Nike YBL. He can rebound pretty well. I think he's going to be more of like a Jalen Duren-esque player, where he might be able to find his shot here and there, but he's going to be that big, threaty force in the paint with the defensive side, with also a lot of upside on the potential for his offensive game to blossom. He does need to work on his shot a bit, his jumper and his threes, but I think he needs to mainly focus on doing his position at Kentucky if he wants to get drafted the highest. As long as he plays his position, I think he'll be fine. Again, he's a bit slow with the footwork. Sure, he's fluid, but fluidity and slow footwork don't go hand in hand. So he needs to work on that a little bit. And again, in his post moves and post defense, he needs to be a bit better, especially if he's going to be a starting centre for Kentucky next year. He needs to kind of brush up on that stuff and sort of show his dominance a bit more on the defensive end. And to wrap up this video, it would not be a video without talking about Brony James and what he's going to look like. So right now, the drafts don't really have him that high. I mean, we've known him since he was a child because of who his father is. But from what his scouting report says, I think he'll be fine. I think when he decides where he wants to play and when he truly showcases his skill, we'll really see him fly up boards then if he really is what is being said. He has that same sort of court vision and feel from the game that his dad does. He knows where everyone is on the court and he knows how to get to each individual player while making them better in the process. We've seen him, his bounce has improved a lot. He's more athletic now that he's come into his adult body a bit. He can shoot a lot better than LeBron could at his age. Like, his shooting is one of his main sort of bags in his game. You can see it with the three, you can see it with his fadeaways and the funky shots he does. He's very comfortable with his shot, and he can also play really well above the rim. He's still growing, of course, as are most of these guys in this class, but with that, pair that with that athleticism he has, he could be really dangerous soon in that aspect too. He's a lot stronger than a lot of these guys based on his build. He's a lot more filled out. So I think he'll be fine if he decides to play at college or wherever he decides to play, of course. But I think he does need to work on his defense a bit. We've seen flashes of great defense from him, like with the shot blocks and stuff. But I think more perimeter-wise, he needs to work on that a little bit. But of course, like coming out of high school, it's not easy to develop a perimeter game. Like that would be more starting in college or wherever he decides to go next. That will be where that starts for him. So we'll have to see how he fares. I'm not actually too sure where he's playing. He's not committed to a college right now, I believe. So we'll have to see where he lands and where he sort of ends up. But I don't think you can ever be better than LeBron. I don't want to say no one will ever be better than LeBron, but I think that's kind of like a consensus right now that no one's expecting him to be the greatest of all time. But I think if he definitely works on his game, his height is a bit of a problem right now. He's 6'2". Again, he's still growing. I'm not sure what he's actually at right now because the scouting report I'm looking at is slightly dated. But I think with LeBron behind him and with all the connections he has and the work rate he knows he has to put in, I think he'll be great if basketball is what he wants to do. If it isn't, I feel like he'll kind of be a little bit half-assed with it. So we'll honestly just have to see where his career ends up. And where he plays next year, I think will play a huge role. I mean, I'm looking at his school list right now. He's had offers from Kentucky, Memphis, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, and USC. But he's not actually committed anywhere. So it'll be interesting to see where he's playing next season and what kind of impact he has on wherever he decides to play. And I think we just have to see more of him. We have to see him in a properly challenged environment to really be able to rank Brony James. And that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you're not already. All of my links are in the description down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.